Add up what is in your cleaning cabinet, $40, maybe more, in plastic spray bottles with a dozen names. Here is something the folks who sell them would rather you not notice. Pour them out, and most of what is inside is water, dyed a pretty color, and given a strong smell. My grandmother kept her whole house clean with one jar that cost about $1. I am going to give you exactly what was in it, and I am going to be honest about the one job it will not do, and the secret most people miss. Let me start where you keep them, because once you really look, you cannot unsee it. Get down on your knees there in front of that cabinet and pull everything out onto the floor. Line them up. Here is the glass cleaner, blue as a robin's egg. Here is the one for the kitchen counters, a different shade, smelling of lemon. Here is the bathroom one. This time it is green, and it smells of pine. The floor gets its own bottle, the stainless steel gets its own. There may be one just for the wood, and another that promises to shine up your granite. 6, 7, 8 bottles, every one a different color, a different smell, a different name on the front, and a different price on the shelf. Now add up what you paid for all of it. Go ahead. I will wait. It is more than you thought, is it not? $30, $40, sitting under your sink in a row of plastic. Here is the part they would just as soon you not dwell on. Take any one of those bottles and read the back slow. The first thing listed, the thing there is the most of, is water. Plain water. Most of what is in your hand, most of the weight you carried home from the store, is water with a small bit of cleaner stirred into it, then colored and perfumed so it does not look like what it is. You paid good money to have water poured into a bottle, shipped across the country, and set on a shelf for you to buy. And when it runs dry in a few weeks, you will go and buy that same water again. And that smell is doing a job, and the job is not cleaning your home. My grandmother would have laughed at the sight of it. Now think about why there are so many bottles in the first place. It was not always this way. There was a time, not so long ago, when a body cleaned a whole house with one or two simple things and never gave it a thought. So how did we get to 8 bottles under one sink? I will tell you, and it is not complicated. It is a clever bit of selling, that is all. Somewhere along the way, the folks who make these things worked out a simple truth. If they can take one job and cut it into a dozen little jobs, they can sell you a dozen bottles instead of one. So now the glass has its own cleaner, the counter has its own. The bathroom, the floor, the wood, the steel, each one is handed its own bottle with its own name, as if cleaning a window and a counter were two different sciences no single thing could manage. But here is what they are counting on you never doing. They are counting on you never lining those bottles up and reading them side by side. Because if you did, you would notice something. Underneath all the different colors and the different smells and the proud different names, it is near the same handful of plain, cheap things doing the actual work in nearly every one of them, the same few simple ingredients, split up, dressed up, and sold back to you 5 and 6 times over. My grandmother had no row of bottles. She had no money for them and would not have bought them if she had. She kept a good clean house with one mix she made herself, and it cost about $1. One thing, it did the windows and the counters and the floors and the rest, all of it. The notion that you need a separate bottle for every surface would have struck her as a foolishness somebody dreamed up to take your money. And she would have been right. So let me give you the whole list, and you can write it down because it is short. There are just a few plain things, and every one of them sits on a low shelf at the store with no fancy label and no advertising behind it. They have been cleaning homes since long before there was a plastic bottle to pour anything into. The first thing, and the main one, is plain white vinegar, the cheap gallon jug. This is your workhorse. Vinegar is a mild acid, and that is exactly what does the work. It cuts through grease and through the film that hard water and soap leave behind. It loosens grime, it lifts away the dull haze on your glass, and it leaves a surface truly clean, not just smelling clean. A whole gallon of it runs you about $8, maybe a touch more, and that one jug will make bottle after bottle of cleaner. The second thing is plain water. I know that sounds like nothing, but it matters. The vinegar is strong, and for most of your everyday cleaning, you do not want it full strength. The water carries it and gentles it down to just the right reach, and the water you already have, coming free out of your own tap. The third thing you keep on hand for the heavier jobs is a box of plain baking soda, a few cents a use. When you have got something that needs a little scrubbing, a little grit to it, baking soda is your gentle scouring powder. It will not scratch up your surfaces the way the harsh stuff does. And one last thing, kept nearby for greasy work, just a drop of plain dish soap, not a special cleaner, just the soap already at your sink. That is the whole of it. 4 plain things, every one already cheap and long proven. Now, before I show you how to put it all together, I have to stop and be plain with you about a few things the way I always am because it matters. The most important one is this. Never ever mix your vinegar with bleach or with any cleaner that has bleach in it. I want you to hear that plainly. Vinegar and bleach put together make a gas that is harmful to breathe, and folks have been badly hurt doing it without meaning to. So if you have got an old bottle of bleach cleaner under there, you keep the two well apart. And you never pour them in the same bucket or the same sink one right after the other. Vinegar goes with water. It does not go with bleach. Hold on to that one. The next thing is about your surfaces, and this is the one most folks do not know. Remember I told you vinegar is an acid. Well, an acid will eat at certain stone, so you do not use this on your marble, your granite, your natural stone counters, or your stone tile, and you go easy on stone floors and any grout that is not sealed up tight. The acid will dull the shine and pit the surface over time. For those you use plain water or something made for stone. Everything else, your sealed counters, your glass, your tile, your sinks, the vinegar treats just fine, and the plain common sense. Keep it labeled, so nobody mistakes it for something to drink. Keep it up high, closed, and out of reach of the little ones and the animals. Used right, kept where it belongs, this is as safe a thing as you will find. It cleaned homes for generations, but you treat it with respect. Honest is always better than careless, and I will always be honest with you. All right, here is how you make it, and it could not be simpler. Get yourself one empty spray bottle. An old cleaner bottle rinsed out good will do, or a cheap new one. Fill it half with your white vinegar and half with plain water. That is your everyday all-purpose cleaner, right there. Half and half. Give it a gentle shake, and you are ready to clean near the whole house. For the greasy spots, the stove top, the range hood, around the kitchen where the cooking grease settles, you add just one drop of that dish soap into the bottle. Not a squirt, a drop. That little bit of soap gives the vinegar a hand with the grease, and the two together cut right through it. For everything else, you leave the soap out, and the plain vinegar and water does the job. Now let me walk you through the house, your kitchen counters, your sealed ones. You spray and wipe, and they come up clean, and they stay clean longer because there is no sticky residue left behind to catch the dust. Your sink, the same. Your appliances, the front of the refrigerator, the microwave inside and out, a spray and a wipe. For glass and mirrors, here is the little trick that keeps it from streaking. You spray light, and then you do not just wipe, you buff it dry with a clean dry cloth or even a wad of newspaper. That buffing dry is what leaves the glass clear with no streaks at all. And for the jobs that need some muscle, the cooked-on mess in a pan, the ring in the tub, you make a paste, a little baking soda with just enough water to bring it together, and you scrub with that, gentle grit, no scratches, one bottle, a box of soda, and you have got the whole house covered. Now here is the part that matters most, and it is the part most folks are never told. It is the very thing that separates the people who do this for years and swear by it from the people who try it one time and go right back to the store. And I told you at the start I would give it to you straight, so here it is. It is the smell. Plain vinegar has a sharp smell to it. You spray it, and for a minute that kitchen smells like a pickle jar. Now it fades, it always fades clean away as it dries, and the surface does not hold it, but a lot of folks spray it that first time, get a nose full of that sharp vinegar, decide cleaning ought not to smell like that, and they quit right there. They never give it the chance. And that is a shame, because the fix costs you nothing at all. Here it is. The next time you eat an orange or a lemon or a grapefruit, do not throw the peels away. You save them. Drop those peels down into a jar, pour your plain white vinegar right over the top of them, put the lid on, and set it in a cupboard for 2 weeks. Then you strain the peels out, and you mix that vinegar with water, just like always. What you have got now is vinegar that smells of sweet citrus instead of sharp pickle. And better still, the oil that lives in that peel is itself a fine grease cutter, so your cleaner works even a little harder than before. Same mix, same dollar. That saved peel is the whole difference between this is wonderful and this does not work. My grandmother kept a jar of that citrus vinegar going on her shelf the whole year round. Now, I promised you at the start that I would be honest about what this does and what it does not do, and I will not go back on that. A man who only tells you the good of a thing is trying to sell you something. I am not. So here is the truth of it, plain. What this cleaner does well is the great bulk of what any house needs. The everyday dirt, the grease, the grime, the fingerprints, the dust, the dull film on the glass, the sticky on the counter, the soap scum that builds up in the bathroom, the ordinary mess of ordinary living. For all of that, this simple mix does a fine job, and it does it cheap, and it leaves nothing harsh behind. And it takes the odors right out of the air, the stale smell of a closed-up kitchen, gone. But here is what it does not do, and I want you to hear it clearly. This cleanse, but it does not sanitize. There is a difference. Cleaning is lifting the dirt and the grime up and wiping it away. And that is most of the battle. Sanitizing is killing the germs themselves, and that is a different job. So when you have cut up raw meat or raw chicken on a board, or when there is sickness running through the house, that is not the time for vinegar. For those you use something made and proven to kill germs. and you follow its directions, and as I said before, keep it off your natural stone and your waxed wood, for the acid will dull those finishes over time. So you use the right tool for the rare hard job. For the everyday cleaning, which is near all of it, this is plenty. That is just being honest about the tool. So let me leave you with the part that matters most. Think for a minute about who profits from that row of bottles under your sink. Somebody has to sell you a different bottle for every surface, mostly water, dressed in a different color and a different smell, each one running dry in a few weeks so you come back and buy it again. That is a fine business for them because a thing you must re-buy forever is the best business there is. But there is nobody getting rich off a gallon of vinegar and an orange peel you were going to throw in the trash. Nobody can build an advertising budget around that. So you were never told, not because it does not work. It cleaned homes for generations, but because there is no money in teaching a body to do for $1 what they would rather sell him a shelf of bottles for. So here is what I want you to do this week. Walk past all those bottles, pick up 1 gallon of plain white vinegar and 1 empty spray bottle. And the next time you peel an orange, start your jar. That is all it takes. Now tell me down in the comments, what did your grandmother or your mama clean the house with? What old way did your people keep? I read every one of them, and those old ways you share are the very reason I keep doing this. Next time, I am going to show you how she made her own scouring powder for the tough jobs, the cheap old way, with your own 2 hands. Until then, walk past the bottles and remember, clean is not a smell you buy. Clean is just the dirt gone.